Welcome to the Unstuck and Happy podcast. We all get stuck, but how long you stay there is up to you. I'm your host, John Polish, founder of the Unstuck Happiness Conference. And this is the show where we interview people who've overcome tremendous adversity and have emerged as leaders. So if you need a little inspiration and hope in your day, get ready, because here comes another great Unstuck story. Well, welcome to season 1 of Unstuck and Happy. Really excited to have with us today the Happiness Coach. If you want a little pick-me-up, a little inspiration in your life, Crissy Butts is amazing. Crissy is the Happiness Coach coming to us from Tomball, Texas. How are you?
Hey, John. Great. Good to see you.
Awesome. So we did an Unstuck Happiness Conference a little over a year ago in Houston, and Crissy was one of our speakers and had a chance to get to know her and her husband, Desmond, and just great people, amazing energy, and couldn't wait to have her on the Unstuck and Happy podcast.
Thanks. So great to be with you. And that was an amazing conference you put together. I love what you're doing.
Well, thanks. So what are you up to these days?
Oh, well, we're stuck in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic, and it's a challenge. I think we're all trying to still stay connected and stay positive in spite of everything that's going on. And I'm working on a new book. I'm also continuing to apply for TEDx conferences around the world. I just applied to about 10 more today. They say it takes about 80 applications to land your first TED Talk. So I'm vigilant and applying at all those. And I just created another YouTube video yesterday for coronavirus, a mental wellness plan, because as many of us are aware that social distancing can have negative effects if people stay locked inside their 4 square walls and they're not getting out and interacting, and they're not getting that sunshine and fresh air and talking to the neighbors and the people around them and staying connected. It can be really dangerous. And so I thought it would be a good idea to share a few tidbits and nuggets to encourage people to really stay connected to their support systems.
Absolutely. So we're going to get to your story in a little bit. You're not getting away with that, but let's talk about this for a minute first. What are you seeing out there? How are people responding?
I think I sense a lot of fear and insecurities. I sense a lot of what I'm hearing from people is a lot of nervousness. Some people have a lot of anger, sadness, and you've got a whole variety of all these different emotions from, all the family members and from all, people. It's affecting every single one of us. I've had 2 of my neighbors that just got laid off from their jobs, and kids can't go to school, and parents, single parents that have children at home, they're having a difficult time being able to go to work, and daycares are closed. And it's a challenge for a lot of people right now. And I think too much time. I mean, I'm all for family bonding and for team building and strengthening family relationships. But it's nice to have a variety of different outlets and times where people can have a little break and then come back and work on those relationships and bond and have some fun experiences together too. So there's a lot of people with a lot of different emotions going on. And I think some people are just burying them. They don't know how to address them. They don't know how to talk about them. And because they're not in social groups, they're not like in their normal groups around people, that their opportunities to express verbally are being diminished. We live in this age right now where few people get on the phone anymore nowadays. We just revert to texting or scrolling through, and so this gift of vocal communication and expressing ourselves verbally is being more and more suppressed. And I think it's we're going to see some negative effects to that if we don't express what's going on inside here.
So as a happiness coach, what do you tell people? Because honestly, I know all that and I know what I should do, and that's a little different than actually doing it. So how do you encourage people to take those steps?
I'll share a little ditty that I had put on that video. So I believe there's 8 different connections that we need to definitely work on staying connected to. One is it is to God or your higher power. Another is to our family, and ways we can connect with them could be through a variety of games or, different activities, and stimulating conversations, having some kind of tools to help with that. Staying connected to our friends. And then, like I said, like actually getting on the phone and calling and checking on people. And texting is good too, but I think we get a whole different answer when we pick up the phone, and you can hear the emotion and the feelings that they're having can be expressed verbally. Also, to stay connected to your vision and purpose, just because the world just seems like it's standing still right now. We have a whole lifetime ahead of us. And so staying connected to what our dreams are, our vision, our purpose for our life is really important right now, not to forget that, because time is ticking, and we can utilize this time right now with less distractions to focus on it. Is it writing that book, or is it developing a certain skill? And the next one is staying connected to your talents. And whatever those, whether it's playing the guitar or it's art or it's woodworking or planting a garden, family history, whatever your talents and your gifts are, to be sure to stay connected to those right now and develop it. Let's use this precious, almost sacred time to use to do things we've been wanting to do for a long time, or developing these skills that will help us stay positive. Another is to get out in nature, and I've just been noticing a lot of people out walking their dogs or out with the kids or playing frisbee or riding bikes. And that's been heartwarming. I have never seen so many people out in my area in a long, long time as in the last 30 days. And even though our community groups, maybe, things are shut down, we're not seeing, the kids aren't seeing each other at soccer or dance, or we're not, they're not in their schools or in our social groups. There may be community groups, online groups, and we can reach out to the people that we know inside those groups and have little conversations with them and check on them. And the last one is staying connected to life-giving foods, because this time right now, like when our bodies are stressed, it's easy to go for maybe unhealthy things like fast food, or go for chocolate or ice cream, or things that are really easy to grab and just to put inside of our mouth, but don't fuel our cells. And I think right now, when life is a little bit more stressful, it's really important that we fuel with the best stuff that we can. One, to buoy up our immunity, and two, because it can totally change it can even help with our thought process and helping us to overcome maybe feelings of depression and sadness. Having life-giving foods can actually help us to stay more upbeat and positive. So those are just 8 connections that I would encourage people to really not distance themselves from right now.
And do you have that somewhere for people to go see?
In the video I just put on YouTube, my channel is Crissy Butts, and in that video, and also on my social pages, I've put it on there. So,
okay,
it's called the Coronavirus Mental Wellness Plan.
Awesome. I like that. I like everything that you said, and I would say that it's just pick one and start somewhere.
It's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
We can't do all of it. And, a lot of those that you were saying are things that I know personally I've struggled with a lot of that. And it's been a challenging time for everyone, but I've struggled with a lot of those individually. However, there are others on that list that I feel like I've excelled at, which has kept me safe and sane and moving forward and still happy. But when you say like reach out and call people, that is like a death sentence to me. I don't reach out and call anybody. Like, I'm terrified of the phone. So if you're waiting for me to call you, it's probably not going to happen. But that getting in touch with your purpose and meaning and things like that have definitely been a huge help for me.
Well, John, how do you feel about sending a text?
I do. I just don't do it as often as I should. It's actually funny because during this time, there's all these comments out there about how the introverts are loving it and the extroverts are hating this. And I always thought of myself as an extreme introvert. And what I've learned through this is I'm just a really shy extrovert. I need to be around people. I'm just not going to be the one to reach out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
that's a good observation.
Yeah, the purpose and meaning, though, is extremely important. And what I found almost ironic about this whole thing is that the people that I've talked to who are the most upset about what's going on around us today are people who have been either unemployed or retired for a while and usually didn't leave their house anyway. So their lives really haven't changed much, but they're living in this fear of what's going to happen. The people that I know who are out there making a difference in the world, who have purpose and meaning and are living their life, when this happened, they just pivot and keep living. And so I think it's really important to focus, instead of asking like, why is this happening? Start looking for, what can I do during this time? What can I do to prepare myself to be in a better position when this is all over with? Because it will be over with eventually.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good time to really focus and grow inside the space that we have right now. Right.
So let's hear a little bit about your journey. How did you get to be the happiness coach?
How did I? Well, about 4 years ago, I was thinking, what is my gift? And like, what is it that I have? And I've had a lot of businesses and I've done a lot of things. And I still just wasn't quite sure exactly what is my gift. And a friend of mine had told me that a mutual friend of ours, who I don't really know who it is, but she said she overheard her talking and she said, "Doesn't Crissy Butts make you sick? She is always so happy." And when she told me this, I thought, oh, well, I don't know how to not be me. It's just me. I'm not doing it like fake. This is my gift. This is the way God made me. I'm just a happy person. He gave me, my gift is a happy heart. And so not everybody likes to be around. Maybe our like energy levels are a little bit different. And so it's uncomfortable for some people to be, but it's the way that I am. And all of us are equipped with different skills and talents. It would be crazy if if we were all the same. We have to have a variety. And I'm not a mathematician. I'm not good at science. I'm not super good on lots and lots of details, but there are other people that just excel and they're masters at those things. And they make the world exactly amazing because they fuel and they give their gifts to whatever industry or whatever organization that they're in, and it makes the world a better place. So we got to have a little bit of all of us. So that's
great. And I think that's an example of the pivoting that I was talking about. Because if you're talking about who I think you're probably talking about, you had to be in a certain place in order to even get to know that person. So there was a journey you went through that brought you to where you met that individual, because I think we both know who we're talking about, right?
Right.
So how did you get to the point where you met that person? Because you were already on a journey, obviously, when you got there.
Okay, well, I'm going to rewind to 20 years ago. I had a series of unfortunate events, and all of us have them. That's what life is about. Life is about having trials and different experiences that give us this space and this opportunity to grow and emerge from our adversities. And 20 years ago, my husband and I had a really successful little business in a small town called Richfield, Utah. It was a printing company. We had a newspaper. We were the main distributors of creating signs and billboards. And it was really a fun time of life for me. We had 4 young children at home, and I was surrounded by lots of family members and all my 6 sisters and little brother. And so I loved it was a great time of life. And my husband, he gets a little early, midlife crisis, and he just starts to get restless, and he starts to look at great other places to travel. And before I know it, we were putting our business up for sale, and he had an invitation to go to Alaska and start another business. And we ended up going up there, and I fell in love with it. We all fell in love with Alaska. So we moved up there. But in the meantime, our house, the renters that we had moved out, our business, the people that bought it, they stopped paying the payments. We have this integral relationship with our little local bankers. And so we didn't want to ruin our credit. We don't believe in filing for bankruptcy if you can avoid it. And we said, what are we going to do? So what we wanted, we did not want to to ruin that credit that we had in those relationships. So we downsized to a normal house, a little 3-bedroom house, down to a 1-room cabin with a little rustic cabin on a lake in Alaska with no running water and a bathroom. And we had to drill our own well, and we would carry 2 5-gallon buckets of ice cold water into the cabin. We'd pour it into a pot to heat on the stove to wash our dishes. And I knew this wasn't the ideal life for children in America, but we needed to get ahead. And the business that he had gone for, it fell out from underneath the bottom as well. And so I was like, what are we going to do? Well, I'm a girl of faith, and so we prayed, like, what can we do? And one day we were driving down Anchorage and we saw this used limousine, and we had this idea that someday we could turn this little cabin into a little bed and kind of like a little bed and breakfast, or allow people to have these rustic experiences to come. Some people like that. And we could drive them all over, show them Alaska in this used limousine. So we bought the limo and we started ourselves an airport service. And in 2 years, we were able to move out of that cabin back into a normal house. And some people, I say, be careful what you wish for and always know your why. And what we wished for is we wished for this little mom and pop limousine company to be the best limousine company in Alaska. And our why was not about, providing for the needs of our children, but it was a little bit more about our ego. And I always think, when you put your heart and soul into something, you can be unstoppable, and the things that you can achieve are amazing as long as you have that focus and that mindset. And that's what we did. We just figured out how to grow and have an exceptional reputation. Our company, our motto was transportation you can trust. So we established contracts with airlines, hotels, cruise ships, corporate jet companies, and the company was just growing and growing. In 5 years, our company was awarded the National Midsize Operator of the Year. And with that, the phone rang 24/7, 365 days a year. It was crazy because in the very beginning, I remember the champagne glasses in the limousine, and I remember washing them with a bottle brush in the hottest water I could get, and then the second pot, rinsing them out. But we were washing them on the stove because I didn't even have a sink. And I kept thinking, if the people had any idea what was going on in the back, in the behind the scenes operation, they would never believe it. Like the Sultan of Saudi Arabia and the Vice President of China, if they really knew what was going on in the background. I promise those glasses were very sterilized. But so the adversity in the beginning was figuring out how to create another, to get out of that cabin, to get out of, not having an outhouse anymore, and to get back into, be able to manage all of our bills and have a back to a life of normalcy. So we got that. It took a while. And it's amazing what you can do when you put your whole heart and soul into something.
So did you still feel just as happy during all that?
That was a great question. So John, in the middle of all that, life, the busier that you get, sometimes it's easy. I was juggling a lot of snowballs, and that phone was ringing 24/7, 365 days a year, and there was never a day off. When the office manager was out, the phones were forwarded to me, and I would answer the phone while I was fishing, while we were grocery shopping. I'd answer the phone in the shower and other places that I don't even want to tell you. But I mean, that was the stranglehold. And we couldn't allow the phone go to voicemail. We had this 95% closure rate. And if you let the phone go to voicemail, they would just call the next company down and you could lose them. So we never wanted to lose a sale. We started adding, we had 13 buses, limos, SUVs, sedans, a stretch Hummer. We had this huge fleet, even an armored bulletproof sedan. And we had so much overhead on our fleet because we wanted to be the best of the best that we couldn't afford not to take the calls and not to get the reservations because the overhead was so high. So, what was the impact on a little family? Well, there were very few date nights. There were not enough trips to the park. There were few social interactions with all of our friends, and even less, rare visits from extended family that were now 3,000 miles away, because life just revolved all around the company. And I knew I couldn't drop the ball on all these famous entertainers and stars and great and important people. So occasionally the ball that gets dropped was the confidence in my kids and showing appreciation and affection to my husband. And he started using that D word. And I came from a long line of broken family, broken marriages. And, I know the impact that it had on me as a kid. And I said, he never experienced that, but I said, no, the buck stops here. I might be losing my sizzle and you are driving me nuts, but we've got to figure this out. And again, it's not like I didn't ever pray, but I prayed all the time, but I just said, God, if you can help us get out of this mess, like please help us find a buyer for this company. And it was really crazy because I remember there was like a community email board, and I saw a chiropractor and he was looking for a massage therapist. Now, I wanted to be a massage therapist a long time ago. When I was, like in high school, you could learn different trades and skills. We didn't have that in our school. So I went to cosmetology. And my favorite parts of cosmetology was the scalp massage and the hand massage and the foot massage and the facial massage. I just loved the power of touch. And I was just always really gravitated to that. But my dad said, oh, no, you're not going to be one of those. He had a whole different vision of what massage therapy was all about from his days in the military and things like that. So I never pursued that. But when I saw that ad, I said to my husband, hey, babe, what would you think if I became a massage therapist? Now, I didn't even have time to take a bubble bath or to go out for lunch with a girlfriend. Like my life was so busy with just the phone and keeping track of all these all the clients and all the chauffeurs and trying to keep up with our kids and everything. But he said, yeah, find a school. And I didn't have time to look for a school, but he gets online and he finds Costa Rica School of Massage Therapy. And he starts showing me all the pictures and the videos. There's like iguanas that go, it's an outdoor classroom in this big, beautiful gazebo, 1 block away from the ocean. I'm like, don't even tease me. There's no way I could do that. I'm not going to leave my family to go down there. You guys are the most important things for me, even though we're driving each other crazy. But you know what? We put our company up for sale and it sold in a few months. And we took our whole family down and we moved to Costa Rica. And it was, we sold part of our business at a loss, but we felt like it was more important for us to keep our marriage and family intact, no matter what the cost was. So we completely just shifted gears and we took the kids down there, and my husband worked on becoming a commercial pilot. I studied massage therapy and holistic health, and we got our family back. And so I'm really thankful that we personally, we were able to like figure out a way to like keep it all together. And I know that, God answers prayers, and he can give us all kinds of direction that can help us in our life. And I appreciate that. So be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. And I do feel like that family is the most important unit in society, and that a lot of our social ills and challenges in life are a lot of times it's because people, they lose their self-identity and they lose their connections to their greatest support systems. So the book, or some of the experiences I shared, are in my book called You Choose Your Path. This became an international bestseller, and it's full of photographs from Alaska to Costa Rica and just nuggets of inspiration and stories. And you know how to, what I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you a $1,000 tip. Somebody out there might need this tip. If you ever find yourself in a frigid situation and you've got an outhouse, you know how to keep your booty from sticking to a frozen outhouse seat? You just need a pair of long socks. And what you do is you slide them over the split on the seat, and voila. It's still going to be cold, but at least you will not stick.
And do you put them back on right away?
What's that?
Do you put the socks back on right afterwards?
No. No, you just take them out there and you leave them. I needed that tip when we first got there because, man, that was cold.
So, Crissy, I want to unpack a couple of the things that you said there because I find it interesting. First of all, I've never heard a little kid tell me that they want to grow up to be the best limo driver in the world, right?
Right.
But you guys had the most successful limo company. And you, from the sounds of things, you guys still were not happy having the most successful limo company, right?
Right.
But when you went to Costa Rica, both you and Desmond ended up finding purpose and meaning in your work, didn't you?
We did.
Right. Which I think that's huge. So just doing something necessary for the money.
And what was that?
Oh, I was just saying, just necessary doing something for the money is not necessarily going to lead to long-term happiness, no matter how successful you are at it.
Right. And sometimes we think that when we get this, when we become the best of the best, when we become this, or when we achieve this, then we're going to be happy. But we had it all. We could drive a different car every day for 2 weeks. And we had the awards and we had all those things, but I was miserable in all of our business success. And you know what? Some of the happiest days of my life were back when we had where we were living in the cabin and we were canoeing on the lake, and life was so sweet and so simple. We had little walking paths and there was like such a little amount of stress, but there was so much fun times together. And those were of course, Costa Rica was really fun too, but truly I look back to some of the happiest days of my life, and they were in that little one-room cabin with no running water and an outhouse.
Right.
The happiness is not a person, a place. It's not a status. It's not the size of our genes. It's really, our happiness is all about our relationships and finding a connection to our gifts and our talents and having that opportunity to share them and use them to make the world a better place.
Something else that you said I found, I think I'm getting feedback from your computer there. Sorry. Something else that was really interesting to me is the 2 times in our lives when people seem to be the most unhappy are those times when you're too busy and you don't have time to do anything, or times like now when we have too much time and we're bored.
Wow. That's a good observation.
Right. So finding work-life balance, I guess, finding things that have purpose and meaning, knowing that you have a reason to get out of bed in the morning is important. And that's what a lot of people are struggling with today is, why do I don't have to go to work. I can't leave my house. I know people who haven't showered since this whole thing happened,
Whoa.
Right.
Right.
We kind of let ourselves go and just think, well, we'll just wait for this to be over with someday. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. You have to have a reason to get up and keep moving.
Absolutely.
And then we get go on.
Oh yeah. Like being a social media junkie and just living on ice cream. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's going to it's just going to weigh you down. It's going to weigh you down. And we've got to find ways to have meaningful connections with other people and laugh and get out in nature and hear the birds. And well, I don't know where you're in Las Vegas, so it's warm there too, right?
It is. It's very nice.
My little sister is in Utah. They just got a big old snowstorm, and she went out with her kids and they created an Easter bunny or a bunny snowman. And so it was a snow bunny, and it had big ears and it had a carrot for a nose. It was the cutest thing I'd ever seen. So
I actually saw that online. I was going to ask, I thought maybe she was in Alaska still, but yeah.
No, that's Utah.
Awesome. So what advice do you have for people who are feeling stuck right now?
Oh, if you're feeling stuck right now, just work on your connections with other people. Reach out to maybe grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, best friends, just whoever's in your tribe. Reach out to those people. Oh, is it okay if I do the sunshine strategy real quick?
Yeah, give me 1 minute because you said something I want to touch on really quick before we do that, but
okay.
You can. You said reach out to your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm finding with a lot of us is that we don't have that tribe. A lot of people are struggling to find that tribe right now. And part of it is because we've gotten thrown ourselves so much into our work, and now we're not working. So where do we find those people? Myself in particular, I went through the big D word right before this happened. And I realized that I lost a partner who passed away. And so a lot of the time and energy I was spending 3 months, 5-6 months ago is gone. Mm-hmm. And so what do you say to people who still need to find their tribe?
Wow, there's people all over, and all of us, we all need each other. We don't have to become best friends with somebody. I think it's really heartwarming when I can go to the grocery store and see somebody across the aisle and make eye contact with them, and both of us smile. Like, to me, it's the small things, that little smile and making eye contact. Sometimes it's the little things. We don't have to know their name or where they live or anything about them. It's just this human connection is really important to us. And I'll just, this is very similar to that other outline. This is about the people in our tribe. So let's see if any of these connections, if our whole life is all about our work, and we're neglecting some of these, I know there's people that we have in our tribe. So God, family, friends, neighbors, social groups, and even strangers. And so the Sunshine Strategy it's a personal assessment tool. When we ask somebody, what's your happiness level on a scale of 1 to 10? And if they say, oh, my happiness level right now is a 2. And then we're gonna show them why it's a 2 and how we can get it from a 2 to a 10. So I want them to think about the positive interactions they've had with the people in their tribe. And so, like, if it's family, how many times in the last week have you connected with a family member? And we can do it on text. The introverts don't have to actually make the phone calls if that's really challenging. What about our friends? And what about our neighbors? I had such a great time earlier this week. It's a beautiful day. And I don't know, everybody was outside. And I just got to visit with people up and down on the sidewalk. We kept our 6-foot distance. Don't anybody get all over me. But it was just really nice to check on them and see how they were. And those personal interactions, it makes the world just an amazing place and not staying in our 4 square walls. So I've had 4 family members commit suicide. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking about and studying and researching on a variety of different things about happiness and what does the research say about happiness. So some of the research has said that our happiness is directly related to the number of close personal relationships we have. 2, the frequency of positive interactions. So let's say this is our family. And how many positive interactions in the last week have we had with our family members? For every one of those interactions, you create a little sunburst going outward. Now, if you haven't been connecting with anybody and all you're doing is just regurgitating and living on the news feed, then your happiness level is going to stay a little bit stagnant. Now, we can't get light from a dead flashlight battery, and we can't get water from an empty well. You have to recharge in order to have something to give back. And I know, John, you know this better than anybody. So it's important to have positive things to recharge us. And that could be working on a skill or learning a new trade or a new thing that can help us in our business or in our lives. Or earlier this week, I planted a garden. And then I had a neighbor come over, and I took her out in the back and I showed her. And then she said, oh, I'd like to do this. And I said, I've got some extra seeds and let me give you some extra fertilizer. And I just equipped her with some things that she could do the same thing over her house. So it's finding ways to recharge. Let's say this was gardening. So every time in this week, I go out and I water my plants, I feed my plants, I fertilize my plants, I talk to my plants, or maybe it's going out for a run. The more times that we recharge, that we give positive interactions to other people, the brighter and brighter our sunshine, our light becomes. And for people that struggle and they're struggling with depression and sadness and loneliness, It's a really simple formula. Identify your tribe, create positive interactions with the people inside the tribe, and recharge. What is it that ignites you? What is it that you love to do? And do those things. And that'll really help us during this time.
That's great. I want to add a little bit to that, actually, if you will, but I think those are all great. And I'm fortunate. I have a great network of people around me. I'm involved in a lot of different things. So I have people, my main people disappeared after divorce and everything, but I still had a lot of people in my life that, are supportive and giving. What worries me are the people who don't really have anyone, who are going through similar things. And so when you were mentioning comments about, positive interactions with family, and I deal with people all the time who they don't have, their interactions with family are quite negative. And so what I would say to that is, don't force. If it's not there, pivot. So maybe it's not positive interactions with family, but maybe there's a social group that you can put your time and energy into, or develop that purpose and meaning that will put you in situations around the kind of people that you want in your life. I think what's more important than even right now is having hope. And so especially during this time, like what I'm spending a lot of my time and energy focusing on right now is building something so that in the future, all those things that I wanted will come to fruition, rather than sitting around watching TV all the time going, why is this happening? What's happening to me? Really looking at what do you want your life to look like in the future, and what are you doing to move towards it? And sometimes what I tell people all the time is that our happiness every problem in the world is the result of an unmet expectation. We expect things to be a certain way, and when that's not, it creates a gap, and we fill that gap with a negative emotion. Because of that, your happiness is tied to your expectation. So there's really only two things you can ever do to be happy long term, and that is do something different to get what you want, or change what you want. And I think that in a lot of cases, especially today, we need to change what we want, because what you wanted is no longer available. And if you keep wanting that, you will be miserable forever. So those people, they're like, yeah, I want that positive interaction with family, but my family is abusive. My family's this, whatever. Okay, maybe it's time to want something different. And put your time and energy into life-giving relationships. Find the different circle of friends, go for that walk in the park and say hi to people. And one of the things that I did during this time is I went and got a puppy. I did. I got a puppy.
Great idea.
And so
great idea. Yeah. Our family doesn't have to be our blood family. Our family can be our communities that we're in. It doesn't have to be just brothers, sisters, and, blood relations. Our family, this is a great, big, huge world, and we're all brothers and sisters. So we're all part of the human family. And everybody, let's say everybody has that sunshine, and your name is on somebody else's, one of those sunbeams. Your name is on somebody else's, and they need you. They love you. They care about you, and they want you to acknowledge them. So we might not even realize how many people that we're valuable to. We might not even recognize that, but I know that we are. And this world desperately needs the light of every one of us. And we have so much potential to uplift and to encourage all the people around us, especially if we can stay filled with hope. I liked what you said. You said, keep living and keep working and keep working on projects and things that you want for your future. We're looking forward to, we're empty nesters now. We're looking forward to this next chapter and moving forward. And we don't need the size of the house that we have. We're going to downsize, but we decided that my husband's a pilot, and we put an offer down on a piece of property that's got a landing strip, a grass landing strip, and it's in the country, and we can see the stars at night. And so right now, during this time, we're talking about like drying up different plans. And he's always wanted a lap pool, one of those, for good exercise and stuff. And I thought, this is not the time to be talking about that kind of a thing. But we went and tested it. We went to the company and actually got in the water, and we swam. And, I think it's good just to keep our dreams alive, and to keep keep looking forward to all the things that we want to accomplish in our life and keep moving forward emotionally and not get stuck right now. Well, things are a little bit iffy in different areas, but we're going to get over this. We've had lots of recessions. There's been lots of plagues throughout the history of time. There's been lots of this kind of, doesn't wipe the whole population out, but we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we did an Moving Beyond retreat at the beginning of March. And one of the things that came up there is this concept of constantly looking in the rearview mirror and looking to see like what has happened rather than looking ahead. And so, there's a reason why the windshield is so much bigger than the rearview mirror in your car, right?
Oh, I love that. Yes.
What is in front of you is much more important than what's behind you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great wisdom.
So, how can we find you?
Crissy, let's see. CRISSY at One Happy Tribe. That's a one, happytribe.com. Crissy Butts on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and this is on Amazon. Did I say I would be happy to your audience, if any of your audience members your listeners would like, I have a great tool if we're still in the middle of this craziness. I have 2 great tools to help people have more stimulating conversations. These are normally $5, and I will give you one of them as a digital download. Just send me an email, Crissy at One Happy Tribe. This is 100 different questions for the workplace to improve communication. Sometimes our conversations are so superficial. We just ask, we just give these one-word answers, and we don't really know how people feel and how they think. But stimulating conversation starters can really help people open up. So this one's for families and for friends, 100 different stimulating conversation starters, and this one is for the workplace. So if any of your listeners would like a copy of that, just have them email me, and I'll send them a digital download so they can improve their communication with the people they're around.
Awesome. So the whole purpose of this show is to, share people who have faced adversity, emerged as leaders, who have been able to look those challenges in the face. And I know that you've had your share. It's kind of hard to really get how traumatic some of your experiences were because you're so happy while you're telling the story. But I know that you guys went through some tough times, and it was a close call there at many different moments in your relationship, and you emerged as a leader and a happiness coach. And I know that you have a passion for helping couples as well, and just appreciate what you are putting out into the world.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you. I'm super excited for your podcast and the conferences you do and the way you bring light and happiness and joy to the world. Keep up the great work.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Crissy Butts. And we will catch you guys next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ciao.
Make sure you head over to unstuckandhappy.com, where you'll find the video version of all of our podcasts, as well as information about upcoming Unstuck Happiness conferences and Moving Beyond personal development retreats. Those are amazing. Make sure you join us again next week for another great Unstuck story. And in the meantime, keep living unstuck and happy.